the biggest, and I'll say the biggest, but Conrad, probably one of the biggest what ifs in TNA history is that when you look at 07, 08, 09, what if Hogan would have never come in? If he would have never come in and we would have stayed the course and the numbers would have continued to inch up and inch up like they were, would we have gone from 2 hours to 4 hours of programming and our revenues, we'll call it, doubled, with not double an increase, just like our revenue, our contractually doubled when we went from 1 hour to 2 hour, and our expenses. So when you kind of look at it through that narrative and those lenses, you just look at, okay, our ratings, when you look at, and I know it's the golden age of cable television, but when we're close to 2 million viewers every week, and our show, and this is another thing that I think we ebb and flow when we talk about it, but for the most part, our first segment and our eighth segment were the two highest rated. So people would tune in, and CSI was our lead in, and same thing, the big drop off and all that. But then as you'd kind of bottom of the hour, just the channel change, just the viewer habits. But we would build toward that fourth quarter hour, and they would come up, which meant our wrestling fan was engaged with our product, and we would think, okay, this buy rate, man, we're gonna do this, or whatever our projection was, and it would fall short. And you just look at it, and again, I'm going to go back to, Conrad, the Apple Wallet generation. We're doing our advertising on Cash App, but this generation, the whole world, not just this generation, it's so much easier to buy. And Conrad, what's one of your rules in sales?
Got to be easy to buy from. It's number one rule.
Yeah, well, know, like, and trust is what's more important.
People buy from who they know, like, and trust. But I mean, you got to be easy to buy from.
And I'll say this: the pay-per-view industry, prior to the digital explosion, transactional pay-per-view, and this is before Fight. We've gone into that history on Fight with Wrestle Kingdom and how that just kind of the tailwind that took off from that. But when you're looking at direct TV, Dish Network, and cable, buying pay-per-view, I think it was easier to steal it as opposed to buy it. I mean that. I truly believe there was all kinds of issues, and that was our audience. And again, you're saying, all right, we started on pay-per-view. Okay, that gave us the opportunity to plant a flag just to get in the ground, because no network was going to take wrestling coming off the Attitude Era. So how do we start a company? That was, I don't say our only option, but we felt that was our best option. It eventually paid off for us. Look at the results. But we started on pay-per-view, and so we started, as in the words of Conrad Thompson, maybe we started in a format that was hard to buy from. That's challenging.
What I wanted to get to was, once you guys are up and running and you have TV and you see that your pay-per-views are not converting at the rate you hope, where would you say ratings peaked for TNA? How many millions of people were watching? Was it 2 million?
Yeah.
So if we have roughly 2 million people watching, and then, we're only going to sell 60,000 pay-per-views once, it's going to go more like 8,000. Why do you think that converted at such a small percentage versus AEW in modern times converting at a much larger percentage? Because you see, less than 1 million people watching AEW, but 100,000 buys pretty routinely. Often 150 or more. What is the difference in? Is it technology? Is it fandom? Is it presentation? Is it creative? How can you separate that?
I think it's hard to put your thumb on any one thing, but I think the biggest, not only has technology made it much easier to buy from, I believe society, how do kids, in those days, how did, and I'll say just kids, how did pop culture buy music? CDs. How did just the transactional mentality of society, hell, you buy nowadays, I don't have to tell you, Amazon, Bezos changed the world. Steve Jobs changed the world with the phone. The know, like, and trust, and easy to buy from, that all of those factors that kind of get in there. I just think at the tip top of that, Conrad, is technology. I think when you look at today's numbers, and whether it's Chiller TV, ppv.com, all the different YouTube, all that, and then traditional cable and satellite. I don't want to say it's a throw in, but it kind of is. But if you still buy your purchases off traditional cable, if you will, for the few cold quarters that are out there, but buying a pay-per-view on traditional cable television or satellite is exponentially easier today than it was 20 years ago, even in that format. No? You disagree?
Could not possibly. I was trying to find a word to let you know how much I disagreed, and I couldn't find the word.
Okay.
I mean, I disagree with a capital D, but who knows why it really is. But it is interesting to think that that's your takeaway.
What's your disagreement on?
I think people expect things to be free now. I don't have to pay for WWE pay-per-views anymore. They're just included. But people are still reaching in their pocket and buying AEW pay-per-views at a rate that they never did for TNA or ECW or so many others. And I can't wrap my head around that unless it's just more global versus domestic. If that's it, I buy that. Because when we hear pay-per-view buys now, if you remember way back when, 20 years ago, and I'm not saying this was the case for TNA numbers, but WWE, we would hear Meltzer say, oh, they did so-and-so domestic buys.
Yep.
And roughly so-and-so international. Now, I don't think everybody listening to this knows this, but I'm about to upset some North American pay-per-view consumers. The rest of the world gets those pay-per-views cheaper. This is the way StarCast was priced. It's the way pay-per-view works. It's just, you can charge more for a pay-per-view here in North America, Jeff, than you can, in the other territories around the world. So whereas a show here might be, $30, $40, $50, whatever it is, it's usually a fraction of that internationally. So maybe that was a reason they would differentiate the buys. But what I was getting to is years ago, Meltzer would report, here's the domestic buys, here's the international. We don't really see that reporting anymore. Now it's just, here's how many buys. Mm-hmm. And to me, that feels like it's because we've combined the two. We're no longer so I think when we're talking about, the TNA only got 8,000 buys. Okay, yeah, they did in the continental US, but we're not factoring in all the international. And I still believe that international pay-per-view is probably only, I'm guessing, 20, 25%, something like that for AEW. I know the lion's share is still going to come from North America, but I just find it interesting that, because I thought that's the answer you were going to go with. Oh, Connie, it was domestic product. Now it's a global product. But you went with, it's easier to buy on cable. And it's like, I don't even know anybody who's buying on cable.
No, it was harder to buy back then.
I don't think it was. I mean, I hit a button on my remote and I got it.
Okay. All right. So that I was making sure that I was understanding what you were disagreeing with. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the ability to purchase it on your phone or purchase all the, back then, if you didn't watch it on cable or satellite, you couldn't watch it. Do you think all the other options, where does that factor in?
Jeff's internet's pretty spotty. We're going to do our best to power through today, but he's going to get real American Tennessee internet next week. We promise. Jeff, I think it's more complicated to watch pay-per-view now than it was back then. I want to remind everybody, where were they watching the Impact television show? Was it not on cable TV?
Yep.
So could they not use that same remote that got them that program to then press the green button to buy the paper? Like it was so easy, and we didn't convert them. I don't, and that's the thing that I'm struggling with.
Well, you cannot discount at the very top of it. I don't say we didn't do a good job creatively because we were getting ratings, but we did not engage. So it's I'll call it creative / marketing, promoting, all the above. We didn't do enough good enough job to sell it. I mean, that I think that is That has to be number one, or I'm putting my head in the sand and kidding myself. And what was WWE doing? Conrad. So let me ask you, what do you, what, let's land back on, because I think I'll call it creative and then hard to buy from, or not enough options, or it's a different generation. What do you think the number one reason was that we didn't convert more?
They didn't want to see it.
Yeah. Okay. So creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Then we are landing on the number one reason. Number two reason.
I don't think it was technology.
Okay.
I mean, I really do feel like it was, and I guess that's what Meltzer was kind of driving at, when he was sort of laying out that ECW couldn't survive this way. And by the way, he wasn't necessarily talking about TNA, but I wanted to draw the comparison to TNA. He was basically saying, hey, don't get too excited about Shane Douglas launching a reborn ECW here. They couldn't get enough support the first time. It's not going to change now.
Yeah.
And Andrew Dice Clay, still with us, says Meltzer's being very unfair. TNA was simply bigger in the UK, India, and Europe than ECW ever was. And ECW was on TNN during a wrestling boom period. TNA was up against it from the start. I tend to agree. Shout out to Andrew Dice Clay. Not everything has to be hard all the time. Don't we all love summer vacation, relaxing, laying out by the pool, barbecues, hitting the beach, doing, well, nothing? Well, how about a summer vacation from your house payments? With SaveWithConrad.com, you can do just that. Reduce your monthly payments by making the equity you built up in your home work for you. You can roll together those high interest rate credit cards into one lower monthly payment, and perhaps access some of that newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And how about this? You get to skip your next two house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your June or your July house payment. You're done until August 1st. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com. Let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. And did I mention we're offering a 3-year guarantee right now? That's right. That means if at any point interest rates improve over the next 3 years, you get a free refi. That's right. No new lender fees from us. So you get to save money now without wasting money later when the rates improve on a whole second set of closing costs. Why not go to SaveWithConrad.com and get a guarantee? Save money now and save money later with your friend in the mortgage business. That's me, Conrad Thompson at SaveWithConrad.com. Shoot me an email at Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com. Give us a call at 888-425-0105 or get yourself a quick quote. Even talk to a live person right now at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. Let's take a summer vacation from house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.